All right, I'm going to give myself a challenge and do nothing but Logic-only plugins. So Logic instruments, Logic effects, no third-party stuff going on. So anything that I do could be done on any freshly downloaded copy of Logic. Let's get started. So I'll do an instrument track like normal, and we always load in with our default electric piano. And I think I'll play with the suitcase. Actually, I think a Wurlitzer would be good. Let's put some reverb on that. And to get me started, I'll use a preset of some sort. I'm thinking maybe a large. Let's play with a large plate reverb, 3.1 millisecond midnight plate. Okay. Let's hear what that sounds like with only the wet signal, no original dry signal coming through. Okay. Let's raise the size. In my mind, I'm hearing something really, really big and drawn out, like extreme sustain. So I'm going to go to the compressor, and let's give it some somewhat a high compression. Let's go negative 30-ish dB, 5:1 ratio. And I might be clipping, so let's bring down our fader. So here's what I have so far. That'll be good enough to start with. Let's move on to something else. Let's go to strings. Maybe something not super high quality strings. So I'll probably use, I think, EXS24 is going to load this instrument. Notice I'm starting with most of Logic's presets because I think those are good. Those are a good place to kind of start. And then you can layer on your other effects on top of it. Now, those don't have a whole lot of release, so I'm going to raise that up in the plugin. And as I pull off those notes, let's go maybe 1 second-ish. And the first thing I notice is that when I accidentally hit harder notes, it artificially sounds louder. So I'm going to go to the velocity processor in here, and let's see if I can tame that down just a little bit. And let's hit it harder. So here's without that velocity processor. It almost unnaturally sounds louder, which I could just I could fix that kind of stuff over here in the EXS24, but I think before even those notes hit that plugin, affecting them in MIDI form is going to be a little bit smoother. So I'll turn that on. Let's add a delay, stereo delay. These parts aren't going to be super quickly moving, and I will use... Let's see what default sounds sound like. I like that. It's almost like its own reverb without having reverb. Let's go to a reverb I don't typically use, like Chroma. This is a kind of a newer plugin. You can tell that they've redesigned some of the user interfaces of these plugins, and some of the other ones that have not quite had the UI updates. I can always tell which ones are the newer plugins that have come in with recent updates. And let's see if I can find a decent template or preset. Piano chamber. Not bad. I think that could be pretty good. So let's see if I can open up that Wurlitzer again. I just happened to overwrite my channel. Oh well. I think I had something like a Space Designer. There it is. Cool. Now let's go on to another. Let's find some sort of like synth bass sound, not something super EDM-y or any kind of, you know, big synthy. What you think of when you first hear of synth. Let's hear like a pad maybe. And I know up front I'm going to put on an EQ so I can fix this, because I think all these are going to be really loud. So pad. Slow drift. See what that sounds like. Now I know I don't care for that filter. So that is a filter being controlled cutoff based off of envelope 2. So I'm just going to keep that. There it is. That's not as bad as I thought it'd be. And I think it'd sound kind of cool with a tremolo effect, almost like a mono tremolo, maybe 16th notes-ish, or if it's too fast, I'll do 8th notes. So I'll go to modulation, tremolo, and I'll make sure they're lining up, because I don't want. Let's go to phase 0 degrees, and let's go to 16th. That's too fast. Let's go 8th notes. I'm gonna kind of mix this how I think it would sound. I like sine bass. Sine waves are great for bass because it has that really dense kind of sound. And let's go to the tremolo again, and I'll lower the depth. So it's just a little bit of movement, but not so much it's gonna give everyone vertigo. And I won't do any kind of reverbs on that because I don't want it to almost smear. I don't want to smear it. So I like that. Let's find something else. Let's pick a random instrument. So I'm gonna kind of blindly go through here. Organ, I can make a pad out of that. And I'll go to my normal, let's just see what it sounds like with only reverb. Silver verb. I'm gonna EQ it before I go to the reverb plugin. Because I know there's a lot of high frequency stuff I don't want. It might seem like I'm kind of carelessly doing this, and I think there's less that could be said about, like, I say there's probably a lot more that could be said about, like, spending too much time focusing on the instruments individually and actually neglecting the fact that you're not making music, or you pay so much attention to the fact that oh, this doesn't sound how I want it to, so you actually never end up making any music at all. So so many times I'll find myself starting a project and spending an hour just like, oh, this piano doesn't sound how I want it to. And after that hour, I realize I never actually made a thing. I never made any music, or I just got caught up in the details. So I think there's so much value in allowing the stuff that I put into this not hold me back from actually making music. Because if I truly enjoy doing something, I'm not going to let myself stop by doing something like this. So I think there's always a time and a place for sound design, and if I'm really looking for... I gotta stop doing this. I keep overriding my own stuff. Oh well, whatever I had before, I think it was... Oh, I don't know. I'll leave that at that. Let's open up a guitar, an audio track for guitar. Now this will be interesting because I wanted to also only do in Logic processing, so I'll go direct in, no processing on my guitar pedal board, just guitar into my interface, into my computer. So I'll kind of have to take a second and turn off all my pedals. And I'm pretty sure my gain is going to be extremely low, so I might have to just boost that in Logic. So let's make sure I'm actually getting enough signal. Utility, gain. That's kind of like a preamp. Too much. Let's go 16-ish. Cool. That should be enough just to get started. And I know once I start adding in plugins and whatnot, it'll sound a whole lot bigger, a whole lot louder. Pedalboard. And let's put together a pedalboard. So I know the first thing in my signal chain on my board is going to be a compressor. So I'll look and see if I can find anything that even resembles a compressor. So let's make sure everything's turned on. Let's do a slow attack. And I'm gonna get the main things in here. I know I'm gonna have a delay and a reverb. I'm not sure if there are reverbs in this. I don't use this a whole lot, which is why it's kind of a cool stretch for me. I think, yeah, let's just go straight to a reverb plugin, because I know this will go directly from here into maybe an amp and cabinet simulator. So let's go reverb, maybe Space Designer again. And let's see if I can find anything that kind of emulates a room, or if I'm doing like swell stuff, maybe I can find something a little bit bigger. So let's go medium rooms or medium spaces. Medium hall. Okay, I know I gotta fix that. This is way too much feedback on here. Let's go less. Let's go 70-ish. I don't want to be super slow, but I want to be slow enough that it's not quite rushing. Okay. And I think everyone needs some sort of overdrive in their pedal board. A little bit much. Man, I forgot how difficult it actually is to kind of put something into a pedal board digitally. Let's go dotted eighths delay. Okay, I can dig that. That's not bad. I think it's a little bit, the high cut's a little bit aggressive. Let's see if I can put that up and adjust the tone up here. Now, one thing you'll always notice when you're mixing guitars in a computer or any kind of full range sound system, you're going to notice if you're running direct, it's going to sound pretty bad, which is why I know Logic has some pretty decent amp designers. See what I can do. So this is obviously a Vox amplifier. I love the sound of a Fender cabinet. So let's get in here. Nope. Getting close. I know, I usually find myself using like a 210. And if I don't have one, that's okay. I'll use a 212. I'm gonna use, for microphone wise, in Logic, let's use a .57. You can never go wrong with a 57. Effects, I want all effects on here to be off. So I know I'm getting reverb from a plugin and not necessarily this on the amp. Okay, that doesn't sound completely like garbage. I think spending some time in here, I might visit this a time or two as I mix and as I play this. Let's hear what it sounds like with the mic. Right up against the grill. Let's go back. Well, I can't say I would choose this over my pedal board. But I'm here to make music and not worry about sound. So let's move on to like a really swell inspired sound. Now I can still use my slide, and I am using my volume pedal to record into Logic volume swells and stuff, because I think that'd be kind of tricky to do that without some sort of controller. Let's go in here and go to Space Designer, and let's find a much longer reverb. Shimmering plate. 5 seconds. That should be plenty long. I am actually pleased with that. That sounds pretty good. For being a copy and paste of what I did before. I'm okay with that. So let's play with this a little bit differently. I think I'm gonna record... Oh, you know what? I did get rid of my Wurlitzer. Oh well. Let's open that up again. And I'll record it without any kind of effects, just straight from the preset. Okay, so I'll go over to my MIDI controller. Cool. Let's see. I will go and hit record. Now this time I will put down my secondary marker and I'll go to custom up here so I can see what actually, how far into a song I am, how many minutes. Okay, this time I'll do no more than probably 3 minutes. And to make myself stay to that, I'm going to loop it. So I'll make it 3 minutes, 30 some seconds. And let's start. Okay. That's not bad. I kind of got into a groove doing a 4-5-6-1, 4-5-6-3 kind of chord progression. So I think I might even clean that up and get rid of the stuff I did before that and just copy and paste it. Or I could do something less than 3 minutes, which I'm also okay with. Let's see what notes I got. So that looks like this is a 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 5. I might as well keep it like that. I'm going to keep this open if I can and just record strings on top of that, which may be tricky because I'm actually reading the notes and then playing the chords. I like memorable chord progressions while I do this. So if I don't do that, I have to kind of read and play what I'm reading, just so the chords line up. I'm liking the pedal tone on the right hand. I'm pretty sure I'll lower the volume of that just to make it sound really distant. That's what I'm talking about with the overemphasized notes. And I'll end on a D major 7 chord. Cool. So let's go back in there and adjust that velocity processor. Because I think my loud notes were a little bit too loud. And the good thing is, because I am playing this to a metronome, I can quantize every note. Except for, I think I might leave the Wurlitzer, like the piano part, alone, because I really liked the, if a note is a little bit early, it feels natural. It's not like I'm locking into a grid. But for strings, because these are playing chords, I can lock these into time with the song. Good golly. I want very gentle strings, so let's keep working until it sounds soft. For being stock strings that come with Logic, I'm not disappointed with that. I think that's pretty good. So let's go back to our electric piano. I know I've overwritten this apparently twice. So the reverb and effects that I had are not still here. Actually, I'm thinking a very gentle grand piano. Let's go to a grand right here. But I am going to compress it quite a bit. I think something I'd like to see in the future is Logic create a grand piano plugin where they can kind of combine all of these EXS24 plugins, or these samplers, into their own piano plugin where you can kind of manipulate microphone placements and stuff. Let's go Steinway. I know I'm gonna like that one. I'm going to change this to a actually low pass filter, but let's raise it up a little bit. Something else I think would be pretty cool sounding, I'm going to use the tape delay and do my tape emulator nonsense and see if I can get it to sound more like a very warm piano. Right, put that back on. So let's see what it sounds like now, because I can do some EQ work in here on this plugin. Let's just see what it sounds like with an octave lower. Because I know once I get really into it on the low parts right here, it's gonna sound really big. And it's too low for me. Let's go up an octave again. But just take all of the dynamic range of these notes and let's lower the velocity about 20. That should really make it pretty mellow sounding. Not bad. I think that's enough time spent on the piano. Let's go hard rock organ. I'm pretty sure I might even just do something ridiculous and add on another reverb. Actually, I have no idea how to use that plugin. Let's go to something else. Silver verb. Let's do another silver verb, and let's make a go to, oh gosh, modulated space. Do full. I think this with some plugins, like maybe a chorus and a tremolo, that might help. Okay. I'm gonna go up an octave on that part and quantize it to the grid. And let's drag that out like last time. Now my goal for this is to kind of fade it in so it's almost droning at the same time that the strings are playing that high pedal note. So I'm just holding one or two notes for almost the length of the entire part, the entire song. So let's export this. And now, because this project is quite a bit smaller already, it's not going to take a whole lot of time to process that one region and export it. All right. So I'm going to delete that organ track. And when I bounced it, it did have the reverb plugins active. So let's see what I can do with some modulation. Let's try a chorus. And I'll do a very, very slow rate, like 1/5 of a second or so. And I'll mix in the mix. That's good enough for something that's going to be very quiet. And I'll add a directional mixer to widen it. And let's try another thing. I'm going to do a mid-side EQ. So the mid-side MS is going to, the mids are just going to emphasize what is in the middle of the stereo spectrum. So you have both of your ears, and if you have headphones on, it's going to be right in the middle. So if I take out the low frequencies from that, you're left with only high frequencies on the sides. So it gives a perception or the illusion of a wider sound just because you're taking out the middle information. So before, after. And that may also cause some phase cancellation, so it may even not quite sound like it's the same in both ears. And that's okay. So I'm gonna lower the volume of that and kind of bring it up to the point where I think it's okay. So I'll bring it in. I want to notice it, and then I'm going to pull it back a little bit further. That is good. So I think that's a decent volume for it. I know when I exported it, I did not normalize it. So it's going to be a pretty quiet audio track anyway, audio file. So even if I do go in a little bit further, there's not a whole lot of sound there, so that's a pretty quiet file. And I'll go and do the same thing that I would do with the bass, and I will go through and delete all the notes that are not bass notes. It's nice when I play in the same octave because it doesn't cause a whole lot of issues. Now when I dropped an octave, I had to go a little bit further. And almost done. And let's see if I can do the similar thing I did before. MIDI transform, quantize note length. Let's go to 1. Now this is going to make it pretty easy because if a note is 1 beat too short, I can select all the other notes that are 1 beat too short and very easily just extend the length of all of them at the same time. Now I know I hit that note too soon, so I'll ignore that one and come back to it. But it looks like it's also going to be a beat too short. That one's fine. These need help. Yeah, it looks like most of these are actually short. Now that note right there is fine. There we go. So I will Alt-Shift-Drag, and they are all the same length now. So I know I only did whole notes except for this chunk right here, where I did half notes. So where's that note that I was a little bit early on? I don't think it was that early, but I know when I quantized it, it caused an issue with being even further off the grid. So here it is. So let's make sure that is lined up. Cool. And let's see what that sounds like. So here's the bass part. It's kind of a light, fuzzy, airy bass. I'm gonna go in and filter out that high frequency. And let's see what I'm actually working with. So I'm gonna do a very, very low slope. So 6 dB per octave. Come in and just soften up the notes up here. The overtones, because I'm only playing one note, but it's all the harmonics and overtones from that bass that I'm gonna roll off. So here's without. Here's with. A little bit more gentle. Now I'm not super crazy about the low notes right here, unless the more I listen to it in context, I think I like that. I'm gonna lower these notes an octave so they just fit in the same range. Now let's do the fun part where I attempt to record guitars on top of this with only Logic plugins. I'm gonna start with swells. and I will mute the mic. Not bad. Let's get jump back over to my other screen. Let's see what it sounds like in context, and I'll adjust some of the settings as it plays. I know I'm gonna like a much longer reverb. Let's go upward toward 12, 13 seconds. It's always kind of interesting when I mix electric guitars with the stuff I don't usually use. Which is kind of cool because it's unlocking a different level of creativity in me. So I know I want only the very loudest parts of that swell to break up. And you're gonna get that effect with the gain here, because this is emulating a plugin, or this is emulating a tube amp. So I know it's gonna get that tube breakup if I have it like cranked really high. It sounds like screaming whale noises almost. I'll keep it probably around 5. That sounds good. Okay, so, and on the other part, I plan on doing very, very light, maybe finger picking. I think that sounds like it'd be fitting, but only, I think maybe just a little bit. So maybe finger picking until it goes to the 4, 5, 6 chord progressions. So let me figure out where that is, and I'll put a marker. So it's gonna start around measure 18-ish. There we go. Now at least I can see where that's going to start. And let's hear what sound we have. Let's see. I want to do a very natural sounding. Low gain. So it's still, signal's still coming through. And I'm going to capo. Let's capo up. I'm playing in the key of A, so let's do capo to G. Now I know that's this right here. I like that. Let's add another synced up. Let's do 8th notes. So I have an 8th note and dotted 8th. Cool. So I'll do that. All right, let's hit record. Now, I just changed my mind. I like the chord progression enough. I'm just gonna do that chord progression where it jumps up into the 4, 5, 6. Now I am reading those MIDI notes. All right. That's pretty quiet. So I added a chorus in my digital pedal board, and I'm not even sure. Springbox. Is that like a reverb? Oh, nice. I'll do a low mix, very, let's do a long time, a dark tone. Actually, that sounds, it adds some warmth and depth. A lot of body to that part. I want to keep that. Kind of a higher mix. Now I know when it does die down, it gets quieter. I want to change how I'm playing a little bit right there. So I'll go to that one chord progression. It's the part where all the bass drops out. So roughly measure 49. I'm gonna go to my recording right here and cut that. And I'm gonna duplicate that channel so when I'm recording, I can also hear what I just played. Nice. Very gentle. Now, I have to say, if I were recording this and I had time to reconfigure my audio interface, I would so raise up the gain on this, because every plugin I have, well, the first guitar channel I have has a 24 dB boost on the volume. So I know what I'm playing is going to be pretty quiet, because I am playing through no gain adding pedals. Let's hear what that sounds like in context. A little bit much reverb. Let's go to the amplifier and see if I can make this stand out a little bit more. So I think I'm going to use condenser mic on this. I think it's going to give a little bit more clarity with the notes I'm playing. It's going to sound a little bit more prominent, have some more high-end and very gentle nuances of the tone. Actually sounds really full. A cool trick that I like to do is double up piano parts and then change the second part a little bit, like change the plugin. So what would happen if I layered up a Steinway with just a Yamaha? Let's try that one. And they're going to have different tones anyway. But what would happen if I panned them left and right? So I know I can already hear the Steinway is a bit louder. Let's go to the Yamaha. Actually, I'm going to copy and paste. Let's go to my mixer. I'm going to delete all the plugins on the Yamaha, and I'll just copy and paste them over. It's a little bit better. I'm gonna pan them, probably not hard pan them left and right. Let's go 40, 30-ish left and right. Because we can, let's triple it, and I'll keep my Steinway in the middle, and I'll do 2 Yamahas left and right. So the cool thing about this is there's no wrong answer. There's nothing you can do wrong. You're not going to ruin something by trying something out. So I'll copy and paste these again. So I have 3 piano parts playing the exact same MIDI notes. And now I can hard pan these left and right. And when I do make tone changes to this with EQ or doing other processing, I'm going to lower the volume of the side parts. Actually, no, the middle part. And let's do a New York style compression on this where I just completely crush. I want to do it as low as it goes. Oh, I had another idea. Instead of that, I'm going to route these to their own bus. Let's find an empty bus with 10. So I'll use 10 as my piano bus. And I'm going to send these two piano parts to it. So I am sending those are being routed completely subgrouped to this channel right here. And on this one, I'm going to add compressor. Let's try CA. I'm going to do all same thing I did before, just as compressed as I can make it. And I know this is going to raise the gain a lot, so I'm going to lower that here. A little bit much. So I'm getting some clicks and pops in my ears. I know that I'm probably hitting Logic kind of hard. I'm going to open up my CPU meter, and obviously it's maxing out on a couple of the threads. So I'm going to go and change the buffer size, which changes the amount of time that Logic has to process audio information before sending it out my speakers or my headphones. So let's raise that up to 512. So it takes 512 samples, or roughly 13 some milliseconds, to think about audio and process it before it's forced to send it out. So the reason it's clicking in my ears and almost popping is because it's essentially unbaked audio. So it hasn't had time to finish processing those samples. So you can tell the gain reduction on this is absolutely crazy. So now that I know it's a completely smashed dynamic range, let's dial down the mix a little bit and let the original tone come through. and I'll slowly work it back up to this extremely compressed tone. But keep in mind, this is only on the left and right channels of the piano. So I have my mono piano, or my middle, because everything here is stereo. Let's do a left piano and right piano, all playing the same parts, except my sides are extremely compressed. Like that. I'm gonna go back to my tape delay and see if I can add just a little bit more of that tape. I'll copy that and paste it to my left plugin. So I'll paste. Now I know that's a little bit more volume than I wanted, so I'm gonna bring that down here with the faders. So here's the middle. And let's hear what the left and right sound like. So it's a little bit much. I'm gonna pull back and go back to more of the inputted sound instead of the output. And I'm gonna lower the low cut filter a little bit for the mid piano. The left and right, I'm gonna do the opposite. So for the left and right piano parts, I'm actually gonna raise the low cut, and I'll copy that and paste it to my other. Oh, I must have copied the right. So let's go back to left and paste. So when you double or triple parts, you got to be careful for frequencies and stuff that are going to be so prominent it's going to kind of ruin the mix, because it's going to have more volume in just those one, that one band of frequencies. So if these pianos are all playing the same parts, I know I'm going to have a lot of stuff here and probably in the mids, which is why I brought that low cut filter up here quite a bit. But I'll hear it in context and use my ears to judge what I'm hearing and make decisions off that. I'm gonna double up that string part, and I'll actually raise it up an octave. And there's really no method to this. I'm just hearing it in my head, and I'm thinking, what would that sound like if I did that? And to just take a little bit of that guesswork out, I'm going to try it and see what it sounds like. Because this actually might cause... They might cause just the way these two plugins are going to interact with an octave above it. I might like it. Apply my same filter. And I think I'm gonna like the lower octave a little bit more, so I'm gonna have that higher. And I'm going to widen with a directional mixer. I'm gonna widen the higher strings. know, for being plugins, every setting is coming from, or every sound from this swell is coming from a plugin. With a couple of maybe compression issues or things that I would have changed as I recorded it, I think this is actually passable. I like that light breakup. It almost crackles, or it sounds a lot more fuzzy and crunchy at the top of those swells. Now, I'm not crazy about that 60 cycle hum I hear, but you can't even hear that in the mix. I'm just gonna do some housekeeping in here so I can think a little bit clearer. Label some tracks. In fact, I don't think I really like I'll find out where I went from that swell to like the chords from those like swelled individual notes. There it is, about there or so. Because the audio file was so quiet, I can't even really see what notes or where the swells begin. So I'm actually gonna have to go in and I wanna do what I did last time and export it. And then I'll reverse it. So it's got a lot different of a texture from the beginning half to the second half of the track. There we go. Oh my goodness, I must have normalized it. That's okay. I'll just make sure that when I do have them, I'll have them on separate channels. So I like that. Let's see what it sounds like if I... And I'm actually going to have to chop this up a little bit because I don't want it to have so much length. So this is a longer file than I need. I want to cut it up here and have this note right here actually be my closing note. So that's going to swell. Okay, I can do that. And I'm going to tighten it up on the back half. So add my filter, or add my fade out, which will become a fade in. And I'll reverse it. So I'll go in here, functions, reverse. You can see it just flipped around. I'll highlight it and zoom in. I want to close the file editor. And this is where I'm gonna have to create a crossfade by lining these up. So as one audio track fades out, the next one comes in. And I'm going to add another reverb on top of this to drag out the tail of those swells. And I'll find some obscure indoor spaces. Let's go something big old church. Ambient church. It must be better if it has the word ambient. Now for this part, I know I'm gonna like it lower in the mix, so I'll lower these both probably 4 to 6 dB. Actually, less is gonna be more. Let's go 8 to 9. So here's the sound. I'm gonna add a delay on top of that. So I'm actually liking that picked guitar part. I'm gonna raise the volume a little bit, because I feel like as more stuff happens in the arrangement, that guitar part is going to get completely buried beneath the strings, the bass, the pianos. Let's go to my pedal board. I know a ribbon mic is going to be a little bit darker. Let's see what that sounds like. So this is going to require a little bit more EQ work, but I like the body of that. This sounds like there's more guitar there. Yikes. Let's clean that up. So I will actually take some time now as I'm in this, hearing this guitar part. It's always going to be that 400 to 500 hertz area. That's going to get kind of muddy the more stuff that I add. So let's do that again. Let's sweep. I want to tighten that band so I can get more specific with the frequencies. And of course, that part ends. Here's a frequency, roughly 700-ish, actually 600-ish hertz. Bring this up quite a bit. And I'd like a little bit more air kind of coming through there. Actually, I'll fix that on the amp modeler. Presence, and I'll raise the treble just a little bit. So I can really hear that kind of like chorusy in here. I'm gonna lower that. It's amazing how much these pedals on the Pedalboard plugin actually add unnecessary noise. Yeah, I gotta bring that down. If I had all night to spend playing with this, if I had all day to do this, I would definitely spend some time working on that guitar. When in doubt, make it lower. Lower the volume of it, and you won't pay attention as much. But I think it does add some character to the track. So I'm gonna keep it. If I thought it were a bad part, I would just cut it out entirely. It's not a bad part for barely being able to hear myself as I played it. I'm gonna go here and add an exciter to that EQ. I want more frequency, but not like extreme high end, so I'm gonna keep my EQ right here. But what I will do is find a frequency probably around 100-ish. And I'm gonna make my EQ last in the signal chain. So what would happen if I went back to the ES2, the synth plugin, and raised the filter? And I think I'm hearing that oscillation a lot more now, so I'll go back to the tremolo that I first started with. Let's bring the depth down a little bit. Not so much. There we go. Put the guitar down. Now I know as the track is winding down, it's reaching that last chord progression. I like the sound of basically piano being the only thing that's really noticeable. So I'm gonna go here and add an automated volume curve, volume fade out right around here. And this part will actually drop about 8 dB when it nears that down moment. And I think this reverse guitar part, it'll fade out entirely, so it won't even be here by the time it reaches that. Okay. Make these fades. The two string parts will basically match each other. I know the bass will fade out. So let's cause a fade out right here. I'm going to cause that note to drag out a little bit longer. So it's going to bleed into the other note, however it's going to fade out before that next note is really... The bass is going to lower in volume anyway. So I'm going to have a fade out about half a bar into that measure. Or half a beat into that measure or so. That's good. Now the organ pad, I intended on this to basically take a, I don't know, 15-20 seconds to swell into its actual full volume. Because this instrument is not going to add anything noticeable to the track. So I want it to, as the track picks up in energy, it's going to actually be noticed. And in the same way, it's going to fade out at the same time the bass does. So it's going to be very long curves. Let's listen to it in solo and see what it sounds like when I collapse it to mono. I think the most volume you're going to get is probably around 1.2. There we go. I can hear it, but it's not in the way. I think this might be okay. So I've been recording for roughly an hour and a half and some change. Now another thing I'm actually going to do, I feel like most of the stuff that I do anyway starts off really, really quickly. So I'm going to add a very long continual automation curve at the beginning of these string parts. So the entire first, I don't know, 15-20 seconds, those are going to be swelling in, just like with the organ pad. So I'll start it from the top. And I know I'm going to bring in that bass a little bit slower. So let's go to the ES2. And I'm going to raise the attack right here. So let's go half a second on that. That way when it does play, it's not just... There it is. So I noticed the release. Okay, that's not bad. And what would happen if I caused that to fade in? Not quite as long as the strings, but just a little bit, probably 4 bars, I don't know. So let's hear what that sounds like with the full context. All right, now I'll let this roll so I can hear what it sounds like from top to bottom. I'm gonna cause those side pianos to lower in volume as it reaches the down part, the outro. And I believe that's a wrap. Cool. So I actually had a lot of fun with this because it was a stretching activity. I usually use tons and mostly pretty much all third-party plugins like Omnisphere and Contact. And then I use my pedalboard as well. So creating kind of a digital pedalboard in Logic was a little bit of a task for me because I know I'd like to go in and just spend maybe 15-20 minutes dialing in only these sounds that I get with my pedalboard and see how close I can get with just plugins that Logic comes with, because that is a big task for me. And I have some respect for people that only use stuff like this. So it takes me back to when I first started music production. I didn't have all of the plugins and everything I have now because I kind of built up a collection of those over years. So if I had to go back and start, like, this is what it would be like. So I have a lot of respect for people that, you know, are able to not let not having a piece of equipment or software hold them back from making music. So I love this project. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. And I'd love to, you know, independently reach out and kind of give you some feedback. If you'd like to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe, and I'll be keeping these projects coming because I really do enjoy this. All right, appreciate it. Thank you.